I have to laugh a little bit about that. Um, this is just a little perspective that I came up with. I did something one day and I said, wow, maybe I can come up with a way to do this. But this isn't going to be my only test I do of this manner. I'm going to try to do a couple other things. Um, I also thought I had my GoPro going longer than it was. Apparently the battery died, and I thought I just put a new battery in it. So I did lose some of the GoPro footage that I did have. Um, this was me just trying to shine a flashlight down in there to see if it'd make any difference, and it didn't. So that was almost kind of like worthless. But this is just a perspective, my perspective, and I would like hopefully to inspire other people to do a similar test like this. Um, Now I go through and I'll show you here how my setup is set up, or how I set this up in a little bit. But let's first take a look at what I got here. Actually, I got my GoPro camera upside down so you could see how it looks upside down. Then I'm going to flip it over, and you can see that I'm right side up now. I'm no longer in Australia, where just one bloke lives. Sorry, buddy, I had to stick you in there because you were being a butt on my channel, so I had to block you. Uh, but this is all about perspective. I didn't use any scale or anything, so I'm not worried about a scale. I can worry about doing a scale situation later on, see if I can find out some way to do it by scale. But it's really hard to, but I'll come up with some other ways to do this test. Right now, this is what I came up with. First of all, I'll start off by just showing you that I got this mirror that I made, and this is made out of plexiglass, and I just bought the mirrored window tint to go over it. It wasn't made to stick to plexiglass, so I used some aluminum tape to go around the edges to kind of hold it down. Every now and then I'll get some bubbles in it, but you can always smooth them out. And then I've got a, now let's see, we'll get to that. Look at that reflection of that sun bleeding through that cloud that's up there. And that shows you how the light just bleeds through the cloud. And it's not that the cloud's behind it at all. But it's just the way the density of that cloud is. If it was a darker cloud, we wouldn't see nothing but a dark cloud. But here's a board that I got out of my attic, and yeah, it's dirty. I just kind of drug it down and put it on the ground, and I got 4x4s that are holding it up on the edges. And it's got a little twist in it, so I tried to use these blocks or a donut there, concrete donut to hold it down. But as far as the board goes, it's pretty darn straight and flat. So I was using that board is going to be like my sky. And then, I'm showing you how far back my fence is that I'll be zooming through uh, between the board and the mirror. But there's concrete under it because the mirror doesn't go all the way through. But I set it up this way because I just wanted to get more of the sky view out of it, and show you how, because we're so low to the ground, that we see more of the sky than we do the floor, or the ground or the water, wherever you're at. Um, so, um, again, this was all based on my perspective of how I see things. So I do have to use my camera. So I use my GoPro camera. I turned it upside down because the lens is actually lower if I flip it upside down. But what I'll do in my program here is flip it right side up. Um, not right here. I'll leave it this way because you can see how the sky, which if I did flip it up, the board would be the sky, how it starts to pinch off the horizon. And that's exactly what we see, or I see, when I'm standing out on the shore, filming my horizon, the horizontal plane. Now imagine that board being a lot longer. It would just totally pinch it off. And that's what we see. So again, if I inspire some ideas into some of the people that watch this video, to do something similar to this, I don't monetize my channel. I don't have nobody paying for nothing for me. I pay for it myself, and all my time is all for myself. Now right here, I'm going to flip it back over. Hang on. Actually, I'm going to leave it like this for a minute because I flip my camera back over here in a second or two. But gives you a different perspective of what you see as far as mirror too. And then I flip it back over. There's a little lip on this concrete right here that it's not much, but it allows me to set my GoPro camera down there and look more over the edge of the mirror, to get a different perspective of things. When I get to the point where I flip it upside down, um, I'll flip the whole thing over, so you can see it right side up. All right. Um, one of the things that I say, and I'm always telling people to do, is pay attention to the detail. So pay attention to the other parts, not just this slot. Look around, and you'll see things that will, kind of make you think. And that's what this whole thing's all about in my eyes. It's to make you think. Think for yourself, and come up with your own ideas of how to show or prove perspective. Um, Here we go. And once I set this camera down, I'll flip this screen over where you can um, see it right side up, because it's a little disorientating when you look at it this way. But hey, we're in Australia right at this moment, so hang on. I think I'm still going through, uh, kind of looking around, showing you what the sky looks like. Um, and then I guess I'll show you that mirror again, and how I have this board set up. It's, just an inexpensive way to show perspective. So just bear with me here, because I do break out my P900. Like I said, I had a lot more footage from the GoPro camera that I really, really wanted to show, but because I guess my battery died, I didn't get it. So I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to try to think of some other ways to do it that might wind up coming out better. Number one is lowering the board a little bit lower. Also, too, maybe at the end of the board, at the big board that's my sky, I'll add another piece of clear plexiglass and possibly try to drag a little light above it and see what happens. So again, this is just my way of doing a little perspective test. And, you know, if anybody else comes up with some good ideas to add to this, it'd be great. My business is kind of slow because of the winter months coming up, and a lot of the northerners haven't come back to Florida. So my business slows down a little bit. So, you know, money-wise, I don't have a lot of money to go ahead and waste on doing my tests. So I'll wait until that time, or I'll just have to improvise and come up with other little ways of showing this. Now, too, if anybody has a place where they've got a long bridge where it's pretty flat, same height off the top of the water from one end to the next, if it's long enough, you can go and do the same thing. Just put your camera real low to the water and see if the top of the bridge pinches off the horizon. That's how I kind of visualize things. Too, what I'm doing is, right now I got this light at the end of the board, flashlight, and I'm dragging it backward just to see what happens. You know, I didn't know what to expect, so I just wanted to try something different, which I think it was a pretty cool idea. If I would have been zoomed in a little bit more, it might have come out better. But you can see how that light is getting bigger and smaller, all depending on how that light is, you know, angled at you. I might have it angled downward as I'm dragging it a little bit, which, you know, you see it flashing when it's directly straight at you. Now, I've got some of my GoPro or my P900 footage coming up where I talk in it. I'm going to see, you know, what I say in it, because I do say a couple things that are off, but as long as it ain't too far off, I'll let it stay, or I'll just correct it with, you know, a little text on the video. But you know, here I'm just showing you my whole setup, and I do have it out in the sun for a purpose. I wanted to be able to have the sun causing some reflection or some refraction off of my mirror. Alright, so here we go to the original audio. Right here, bad focus, so I'm not afraid to show my mistakes. I should have focused in my camera first before starting this, so I'll shut it off and then refocus my camera, and you'll see that right after the transition.
Okay, we are seeing the edge of the mirror there on the ground, and you know, I'm zooming in between here and showing you how even the light off of this mirror is bouncing up on the underside of that board. So it's reflecting under the board. Now it could be reflecting off from the concrete. Well, I'll just say that it is reflecting off of that. Right. These 4x4s are, you know, holding up the board. And like I explained on my other part, the board is not, it's got a little twist in it, as you can see. So it's not perfectly straight at the other end. And really the other end is where I did want it to be down. So I might just go over here and change the rock or the weight that I got on here real quick.
Now, if you watch as I walk by, you'll see my shadows. So it is the concrete that that light's reflecting off of. See my shadow? So the light is reflecting off the concrete back up underneath the board, and you can also see the crap and some dog hair too.
And it is hard to get this thing focused in, and as I, zoom in to underneath here, look at how that refraction or miraging affects that horizon. So you wonder why things get hidden or cut off. This is a pretty good example. And even the fence panel behind here is, just kind of whiting out the background. And that is just a fence panel back there. As you can see, it's the lower part of the fence panel. So, when even my camera is trying to get out there, see how that refraction starts coming up off the light that's being emitted off the mirror. That mirror that I've got sitting there. And somebody might say, well, you got your camera too low. Well, I'll raise it up too and do the same thing, just a little bit at a time. But I can zoom over here. Well, let's try this a little bit differently too. There's my fence panel. Now what we'll do is, being that I know I got it in focus with the fence panel, let's see what happens now. See that refraction coming up? The refracted light. It kind of blocks you out from seeing what's on the other side. So, that is like right in the miraging or the mirroring that is affecting our vision and even affecting the camera. So you get this refracted light coming off the water, and some would call it a mirage, because this is where instead of the boat continuing to stay on the water's edge, it actually, or the visible water edge, it actually starts floating in the air. And this is partially why, because of this refracted light. I call it reflected light because refraction, reflection is pretty much the same thing. And then you got shading that occurs, or filtering that occurs sometimes in the sun, that will filter out that light and give you a whole different perspective. Sometimes I can see things going a lot further away than other days, and I say it's several different things that causes this, and you can even see here how we can go over here and I can zoom right in on the fence panel and even look at the ground or the concrete here, causing light to refract up and kind of right on the edge of visibility. Any more than that and it could totally block out whatever's beyond it. And there's actually shade right over there by the fence. I'm going to say about 20-25 feet away from that fence. There's a big area of shade. So you're not seeing that shaded area. So if that was all lit up by the sun, I might not even be able to see that. Now, Yeah, I think my grass is going to block me off over here if I go this way. Plus there's leaves and all in the way. But, you know, when you're not, you know, focused on, or your camera and our eyes can't focus on distant objects too well because of our angular resolution to it. So, again, I'm just doing this as a, you know, perspective-wise goes to see what, you know, we can see. And you can clearly see that that mirror that I got set up there. So you're just seeing it at an angle, and that angle is what, you know, angular resolution. And being that it's a reflective surface, see how it just starts cutting everything off. And even Earth, land can be reflective. And again, you know, here's what you see at the other end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a flashlight, and I don't know if you'll be able to see the light or not, but I'm going to try to line it up down at the bottom, or down at the end of that by my fence, and see what I come up with. Okay, so give me a second. Okay, just so you can see what I did. I put this flashlight down at the end. I turned it on, of course. Now I want to just, hopefully I'm lined up with my board here, and we can see it through here. So let's give that a try. And I don't know what to make out of that, but after we zoom back, you can see how it is reflecting off of the mirror. So let me try raising the camera up just a little bit while I still have time. And I'm just going to move my big 6x6 block up higher. Let's try it again. You see more of the mirror that I got laying out there. And of course, by moving up higher, I get less refraction. But you can kind of see where that miraging effect occurs. Look at and that isn't even reflecting on the mirror, I don't believe. I think it's reflecting off the concrete. So if I see if I can raise it up even a little bit more. And there you see the reflection coming off of the light there on the mirror. So let's try it a little slightly backwards from this position. What's funny too is if you look at my driveway, perspective-wise toward my house, look how the corner on that wall right here, the corner. Okay, I'll put it like that. Look how it protrudes downward. Okay, and imagine if that was, my house was really, really longer, or, you know, continue to go out, how that would literally hit the ground. So it really is about perspective. I mean, even look at my garage here. You know, there's the ceiling, and then as you go down further, it gets closer to the horizon or the horizontal plane. Let's see what I get with this part here. Okay, we start to get that stretched out look, or the elongated look from the light. So again, you know, these are just perspective ways to look at things. And it's also showing me how that miraging effect works too. Because again, this is just a flashlight down at the end. So that refraction or reflection of light starts cutting things off. Okay. So even if I was to move that light, which I think I will, let me see if I can't find something to get my camera to stay propped up with here. Interesting when you look at it this way, how that refraction line is just basically cutting off the let's say that's the sun. Okay, so very interesting how that works. Now I'm down to 2 minutes or something on this. What I'd like to do real quick is just put a little bit of water on my mirror and see what that does. And the sunlight's kind of dissipating. It went behind some clouds, but it'll be back out. I want to try some water on there. I did was I dropped some water on there just to see if it made a difference, and I really couldn't tell from where I was at either, if it did. But I'm down to like 50 seconds, so I'm gonna actually focus my camera in again, and then start a couple other things here. Try a few other things. Alright, so give me a few minutes here. I might have wanted to add a little bit more water onto that mirror. Only because I just put a little splitter splatter on it. But, you know, we're not looking at the end of the concrete here. We're looking at right here is about where my mirror begins at the bottom of the screen. And you can see how that light is just bleeding downward. My fence panel again. And there's my light again. And let me get my camera right up to this edge of right here, and add some water, more water on my mirror. Oh, if I turn it on. Like I said, I don't know if that made a difference. It might make a difference on if I lower my camera more. Who knows? The more we, get lower to that surface, the more refraction starts occurring. I can still see the edge of the mirror right there. So here, let me get it on the edge of that mirror. And again, you see that light being refracted down. Now the flashlight's pretty interesting too, because you see the little dot in the middle. And that's at full zoom.
Okay, the refraction isn't causing things to be lifted up from behind the curve. If anything, it is actually causing the light to be pulled downward. So that's a little different concept to look at or think.
I can probably focus it in there on manual focus, which I'll try too, but then the background's going to be out of focus. So it's either one or the other. So we can try both ways. And I mean, alright, as I rise up, of course, I'm going to see more of that light and less of the refraction or the miraging that occurs. Okay, so this is all in straight line of sight, but you see as I lower the camera how that light even changes down at the end due to perspective. Again, just a little cheap way to show myself, you know, that it's perspective that does play a big role in what we see. You know, a plane flying away from me will appear to just fly downward, but he's not. He's still flying directly away from me. Same way with a boat that goes out over the water, because he's closer to the ground, and I'm getting this refracted light or mirroring light, reflected light. It cuts it off. Just like right there, it is cutting off the lower end of that light source. And that's why we won't see the sun continue to get smaller and smaller and diminish away. I guess if you were up, let's say between the clouds and the ground, in between 50%, you might be able to see that sun get smaller and smaller and smaller. But from ground perspective, it will always stay the same, and it would just occur or appear to be going over this curvature. So again, you know, this is just my little experiment, my way to show
Just imagine if my light source was way further back and I had all the atmosphere, clouds and humidity and water, evaporated water in the atmosphere, how that could actually magnify the light source. The farther and farther back it went, would keep its size. But you know, you got to take this into consideration that this is on a real small scale. So if we did it on a bigger scale, you'd probably get the same results. So it's all about perspective, and not all, but because there's a lot of other things that are involved. The angle of the light, reflection of the light, whether we're getting full light or whether we're getting filtered light from the clouds. I notice that when I get filtered light from the clouds and it's filtering out the light quite a bit, I actually see these boats right on top of the water line and not a mirror image underneath them. So I think that there's a lot of other things that are involved in how we see. You know, if the light's behind you, if the sun's behind you, or if it's in front of you, or to the left of you, or to the right of you, that all makes a difference. The angle of light, not the angel of light, but the angle of light. You know, I really do look at a lot of different perspectives, look at it in a lot of different ways. And I'm learning as I'm going too. So don't ever be afraid to, uh, you know, research refraction, reflection, mirage, mirroring. All of this plays a role in how we see, and all that is also because of the way we see. You know, our angular resolution, how we render stuff through our eyes, or even rendered through our camera. So right now, really, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of showing you my setup, and hopefully this gets some ideas in other people's heads to try some similar experiments.
Pretty much take it in, and see that the board is bigger. Same way with my mirror here. I kind of can't take the whole thing in with the camera, but if I was to go up higher, I can. So our height has everything to do with with everything. So perspective is plays a big role. But to get back at my board, I got a 4x4 here holding it up. I got a 4x4 board here holding it up. Now, again, this isn't by scale or by measurement or nothing. This is just to show perspective. And of course, there's the light right over here that I've got in the driveway. And that's a little farther away. But you can imagine that if I move the light even farther back, well, it would drop off because my driveway would drop off out here because it is lower. But, I'm not going to try to cheat anybody. That's why I was trying to use this, because this ground or this concrete right here is pretty darn level. Yes, it's on a downhill slope, but all of it's on a downhill slope. So as long as I've got my mirror and my board and everything level to the downhill slope, it's creating my horizontal plane for me. So again, think for yourself. Use that thing between your ears as a brain, and find your own answers. Do your own little test. And just imagine too, if my board, say went, straight out, well past my gate, which would be like saying it's the sky. How far would it have to go before it got pinched off by the horizontal plane? And that's why the clouds always look like they cut off your vision in the distance. All right, it's common sense stuff. But we get the trolls on our channels that want to come along and say, oh, you guys are, idiots, and you guys don't research nothing. But really, believe it or not, I've been watching a lot of good flat earth stuff that people have been presenting. And you know what? It's better evidence than science ever gave us. Science gave us a belief and not really an actual, what should I say, proof. They gave us mathematical garb. That Bill Gates calls math magicians, and I believe that that's exactly what it is. Magicians, just to throw you off and make you feel stupid and not allow you to use your own damn brain. So again, do your own little perspective test and see what you come up with. I'm sure that you're going to come up with some of the same things I do. And I even want to get my GoPro out and do another piece. I know this is going to be long, boring, but hey, if you really want to do your own test, I give people good ideas to do this. Good Time for All, he has some really good tests on how to create your own sphere. So give him a shout out and check his channel out. Alright, let me get my GoPro out and see what else I can come up. So I always try to focus my camera in on the farther distant object. So again, what I got here going on is I got my GoPro down here at the end. Got a little black thing right there. And I got my mirror. And I got my hose right here, running a stream of water over it. Maybe I got it on there a little too hard, but let me turn it back just a little bit. Because all I want to do is just create a wave pattern, wave action, just to see what my camera is picking up here to down there. And again, I will try to take my own, this P900 down here at the back, again on this piece of wood I got set up to try to keep me level with everything. Now my GoPro camera may be in the way, and probably is, but we'll try to shoot around it here. And we'll see if that water action is actually doing anything too. Looks to me like it's just it's creating more refraction that, you know, will cut off that that light source. And now even look at the light on the bottom of the board itself, how it's lit up, illuminated down there by my light, by the flashlight. Interesting. Okay. Now I know that our sun is not on the ground, but it appears to be due to our perspective. So, you know, Wolfie, what is it, 60-20, something like that. He's you know, coming up with excuses on my video. Actually, it was rethinking everything, or rethink everything that made the video, but I'm the one that kind of turned him on to it. But I don't give a shit about credit no more. Matter of fact, you know, this is all about doing our own tests and coming up with our own stuff. And no matter what people think of you, it's what you think of yourself that matters. Now I just slid my camera up a little bit more to try to level this out a little bit better and get to where I'm actually a little more level with that light source. And you see a difference from the first time that I was doing it without putting the water on the table. Also the angle of light that's coming into it from maybe, you know, the sun that's above me could be affecting it too. But that's what we would see right there as the bug's on the ground. And you can see where that refraction line is starting to really hide that light source. So again, my perspective, and as I raise my, you know, camera up, of course, you know, we change the height of the viewer, the observer, and there is the light again, or, you know, we could say the sun. But you slowly lower it down. If I can do this by hand, and you start seeing how it starts blending into itself. And I already did a video where I used the sun itself on a concave convex mirror, which the mirror was representing the water, and we know the water has waves and swells, so it's not a perfect mirror. And that is what happens, is it vanishes within its own reflection. And, you know, I know a lot of the bigger channels don't give me much credit. But, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried about credit. I got my subscribers that, you know, follow me and follow what I try to show, and I try to do, you know, real life observational stuff. I don't put graphics or nothing into my videos, and I'm not downplaying any of the bigger channels either, because they have some excellent material that everybody should look at. You know, we see that the Globers won't look at it because they don't want to, you know, ruin their little globe bubble world that they live in. And then you've got the brigade of clowns that wants to just call everybody shills and gatekeepers and satanic, you know, people. So I don't even give them the time of day. Alright, well, I'd like to really kind of see what I got personally, you know, on my computer to see how this turns out. So let me shut everything down, and I'll go check it out and see if I can't get this put on a video for you, for a nice perspective video. Okay? Alright. Y'all have a good day, and I hope this inspires other people to go out and do their own tests. You don't have to be a freaking scientist to go out and do your own test. You just got to be a person that's wanting truth, and you don't mind being ridiculed or mocked for looking for it. Okay? No matter what anybody says or thinks about you, it shouldn't matter. It's what you think about yourself that really, truly matters. And treat other people the same way that you yourself would like to be treated. There's a lot of people out there that say do unto others before they do unto you. Well, that actually is why we're in the situation that we're in, because people will stomp on your head to get to the top. Plain and simple. It's the way of the world anymore. It's greed instead of truth. Truth is being overridden by greedy men, that's for sure. And if they can make money off of you, they sure do. That's why you are enslaved. And heck, why not? We'll just take my P900 up here too, and we'll set it on the ground right here and see what I can get. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, get to that horizon, and what do we see there? Just right there alone. See, imagine if I could get my camera to my P900 lower and level. We could really have something going on here. So that's the reflection coming back to your feet. You know, if you were the observer standing on the shoreline. And you know, you would probably be at a higher altitude right here. So think of it as you being on a higher altitude. So again, you know, a lot of times I don't know if it's worth posting my videos or posting my observations, but you know what? I've got to the point where I really don't care what people think, say about me or my channel or what I show. But I do show real stuff, so, you know, real observations. There's a lot of good people out there showing the NASA stuff as they're deceiving us, which I dearly appreciate all their hard work and effort and their research. So I am not trying to take nothing away from these other good flat earthers, but the ones that are making the ridiculous claims, I'm not following them, I'm not debating them, and I'm not even going to deal with them. I do have a few trolls that I let blab their mouth on my channel, only because they're making a big ass out of themselves. So why not let them continue to make an ass out of themselves? Alright? I say heck with it. If you want to be a butthead and you want to, you know, look like a real fool and spout your mouth off saying that you did all this research, you go right ahead. Make an idiot out of yourself. That doesn't bother me one bit. Alright, well, thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and hopefully this gets a lot of views, because I think it's worth it. Alright, so long. you don't show your face, you're not a credible person. But I'm going to expose myself because I really have nothing to lose anymore. So, you know, if you, you know, want to know who I am, this is me. And there's the old goat with the little Billy Goat chin here. But I'm not playing any games anymore. And, you know, the people that want to downplay you and talk bad stuff about you, I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person at heart. I try to help friends and family out as much as possible, and even strangers at times. So, you know, anybody claiming that I'm a satanic gatekeeper or something, they can kiss my grits, because I am nowhere near that type of person. But I do want to say I appreciate a lot of the really good flat earthers out there presenting really good information and spending their own money and their time. And even the ones that, you know, get monetize their channel and get a little bit of money, I can't put nothing down about them. Hey, you know, I found out one thing. It ain't cheap going out here doing your own thing. Not only it's a lot of your time, but you do spend money. Number one, you know, spending the money on the camera, tripod, SD cards, batteries, it all adds up. Nobody's funding me. I do this all on my own, and I support myself with my own cash. So, you know, the people that want to talk crap, they can continue to talk crap all they want. I just recently had some troll say that, you know, I'm who pays me, or I'm paid off, and yeah, right, okay. He ain't got no proof of that, and nobody else does either. So, you know, if people want to think like that, let them. But it ain't going to affect me one bit. I am who I am, and I actually like who I am. I've found myself more, since I've been into Flat Earth, I found myself a lot more spiritual as a person. Alright, well, I appreciate everybody watching, and I thank all my subscribers for subscribing to me. And I don't look at you as a follower, I look at you as a subscriber that are really interested in my observations. So I thank you very much for subscribing to me, and I'll continue to try to do these little experiments as much as possible. Alright, thanks. Y'all have a good day, good night, or good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is, wherever you are. Alright, have a good one. Bye.